All right, so I'm walking back home, and you hear that loud train passing by, probably in the background. Let's see. Oh, a lot of interesting things in the news. When for many years, the people that I grew up with, the people that I knew, were alive. You know, but then all of a sudden, people that I know and grew up with are starting to die off now for various reasons. And I'm just like, amazed that, and I guess when you turn 40 something, the people that you knew, if you're like 20 something, it's very rare that someone dies that you grew up with, as far as a TV, someone on TV or in the movies, music industry, or anybody that has some influence of anybody of any influence that that you followed, and or at least in the industry. But all of a sudden, these people are dying, and they're dying left and right. It's just really crazy now. And now that I'm 40, about to turn 41 in February, there are a lot of stars, celebrities, people that I knew, well, didn't know personally, but people that I followed on TV, watching TV news, TV stars and movie stars, musicians that are just dying left and right. And I think one of the only stars, celebrities that died when I was young was Aaliyah. And I don't remember what year was that when Aaliyah. It was like in the 90s, right? Well, in the 90s I was 20 something. I was in my 20s. And so it's very, like I said, it's really rare that people that you were influenced by. Now, 20-year-olds now, when they hear of people that I grew up with, it probably doesn't affect you as much. I remember my mother's like, "Oh my God, he died." It's not that big a deal to you because it's not one that you grew up with. I remember when James Brown died, my mother was really affected by that, and because she grew up with James Brown. When she was growing up, that was her, celebrity. And even though I love James Brown music, it didn't really hit me as hard as it hit her because it wasn't my era, my era. Now, Michael Jackson died, and yes, there were a lot of young people who were affected by that. A lot of young people were affected by Michael Jackson's death. So I'm not going to say that at all. 20-year-olds, let's say 30-year-olds. But it doesn't hit as hard as, okay, imagine James Brown. James Brown was the Michael Jackson of my mom's era, Yes, Michael Jackson was, above that, of course. And the only people who were above Michael Jackson were the Beatles and Elvis. But as far as, in the modern age, Michael Jackson was, the top. And then my mother's era, it was James Brown. That really hit home for her. It's like, my God, James Brown is dead, Even Whitney Houston, a lot of young people who liked Whitney Houston's music, or they liked her as a movie star, because I think the young people don't really remember her music, but they remember some of the movies she's made in the recent years. You know, like I don't know, the pastor's wife, I think it's called, the minister's wife. I mean, I'm very bad with names of movies, so I do apologize. Waiting to Exhale, you know, movies like that. But those movies were made during my time. You know, that movie came out when I was 20 years old. You know, when I was in my 20s. And so, but now, all of a sudden, now that I'm 40, people that I grew up with are now dying off. You know, and it's like, oh my God. A lot of movie stars. I mean, Dallas. Oh my! I mean, it's unimaginable. Now, Dallas was during the time of my mother, but I remember seeing him in a lot of different movies. But he's most famous for in Dallas, and that's Hagman. I swear, I just cannot put a finger on how many. And I think people who follow boxing, or was he? And I'm not a boxing fan or a wrestling fan or anything like that, but I think he was a boxer, right? You know, he is something else somebody else that died, and he was young. So I think that probably affects a lot of young people of the current generation, you know, in the 20s. So that's probably one of the rare moments that a 20-year-old would experience the death of a celebrity. It didn't really hit me that much because I'm not really a fan of boxing, but at the same time, I did see him a lot on TV, you know, like commercials and all that stuff, and now all of a sudden he's gone. You know what I mean? Got shot in the face. I mean, that's, my God, you know what I mean? And then we have Jesse Jackson Jr. Now, he's not dead, okay? But the fact that he has gone into deep depression and got out of that, but still feels he's not really ready for the world or to tackle on anything as big as being a congressman. You know, it's just amazed that just about 2 years ago, I was in Chicago, and I went to one of his events. And I saw Jesse Jackson give his speech. I didn't get to shake his hand, but I did shake the hand of Jesse Jackson Jr. And so it was an honor and a privilege to see Jesse Jackson and Jesse Jackson Jr. in person. But shortly after that, I mean, it was like within a few months, I would say maybe 6 months, that all of a sudden he's talking about being depressed, checking himself in for, you know, for evaluation, and it's just amazed that the figures that you're used to seeing as being strong and powerful, standing on stage and giving good speeches or singing or on the big screen portraying, you know, these powerful roles, all of a sudden you see them all frail and messed up, you know, and it's just sad, you know. But those are the people that you see on the big screen, and you have an image. And I think the thing is that people have an image of them as being this larger than life, you know, just personality, you know, just like we determine their personality and their character and their likes and dislikes, but really and truly, they're no way like that. They're just as frail as anybody else. They are just as human as everybody else. They're no different than you and me. I know I've been through a lot in these last couple of years, these last few years, and those people have been through a lot as well. Everybody goes through a hard time, and not everybody is immune to bad health, bad situations, stress, cancer, and all that. Michael J. Fox is a good example. How many movies have I seen of him? How many TV shows has he starred in where he was on top of the world as an actor? He was huge, you know, especially in Back to the Future. I mean, that was probably his biggest thing. I love those movies. All three of them, or two of them, three of them. Right, there was three of them. There was one he made, then he did two of them back to back. I saw all those movies in the theater. I loved them all. And now he's not dead, but he has MS. And he's not the same character, that same person that we all grew up with. He's frail, he's a human being, basically. People imagine that celebrities are just perfect people. They're really not. I think Charles Barkley said it best. I am not a role model. And none of the celebrities are great role models. They make mistakes just like anybody else. Some of them don't really care if they make mistakes or not, and some of them do. But they're only human if they do make mistakes. They get caught up. They may get into sexual innuendos with other people. Bill Cosby's done it many times in his past. He's cheated on his wife 1,000 times. So, all right. So this, it's just a scared the hell out of me. Woo! All right. All right, back to my conversation before I got scared the shit out of me by that car alarm. Well, I'm almost at my door here, so like my video, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, all that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And I think that's about it. Oh, go to sHiZ.us, become a member. Thank you for watching this video. You have a great week. Peace.